Good evening, everyone. Hope you're doing well. I'm Sabrina Adler. I am the principal here at Ralston. This is my third year at Ralston. Looking forward to a fourth year next year. I'll let Mr. Wilson introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Patrick Wilson. I'm one of the assistant principals here at Ralston. Also in my third year here and very excited to get ramped up and ready to go for our incoming group of sixth graders.
Hi, I'm Kelly Jorgensen. I'm the other assistant principal, and this is also my third year, getting ready for our fourth year next year. And just welcome to Ralston.
Hi, I am Lisa Kafka. I am the current 7th grade counselor. I will be 8th grade counselor next year, and I will be starting my third year at Ralston.
We are very excited about next year and welcoming your sixth graders and your families. We're going to go through some slides tonight and hopefully answer most of your questions. Please don't stress, we are recording this, and I will send out the recording along with the slides this weekend so that you have everything that you need. We're going to start the show. Our goal tonight is to go over the bell schedule and a little bit about classes, talk about our academic and social emotional supports. School spirit and engagement are super important and fun, as our clubs and groups and our sports. We'll talk about some of the upcoming dates and how to get a hold of us, and hopefully finish out any questions that need to get answered at the end. This is a little bit about our bell schedule. It does look very colorful, as you can see. Our students have 7 different classes. However, they only have 6 per day. As you'll see, that purple 7th period wanders at different times throughout the week and replaces a different period. It looks a little crazy, but the kids adjust to it pretty quickly and get used to it. For those of you who are currently with us or have been with us, you might notice it looks a tiny bit different for next year. So we are making a couple of small changes. The first one is that we really are working hard to help the students and set the tone with our social emotional learning, that's SEL. And we've carved out some time by moving some minutes around next year to have a little block of social emotional time to go over our Wayfinder curriculum and do other lessons on Wednesday mornings. So you'll see that that is a new change for next year that our staff decided was beneficial for our students and needed to happen, because in the past, our homeroom has been about 8 minutes in the morning, and it's just not enough time to take care of the things that we need and go through the Wayfinder curriculum. You'll also see that the homeroom period, which is attached to first period, in the dark green, has been shortened. So again, it's only going to be 4 minutes, really going to be for announcements next year. And then an additional change is we're actually going to start Tuesdays without the homeroom dark green block. We're going to go right to 7th period so that kids go all the way through their schedule 1 through 7. And then we're going to actually have second period, which this year is not second period. So little swapping between Tuesday and Wednesday and the shortening. You'll notice we're out 4 minutes earlier because we did shorten the passing periods on Wednesdays and the snack time a little bit to get this SEL time we needed. A little bit about how meals are served. We serve breakfast during the snack time, since a lot of our students are not hungry until about that snack time. So we serve those from the breakfast windows that are attached to the cafeteria. On Wednesdays, we do it before school because we have to get 2 meals in before dismissal. The kids cannot take their food home. And then lunches during lunchtime. On most days on the Wednesday, it is served at snack time. And they go through the line in the MUR, and we help the students with knowing how to do that. As far as classes, again, each student has 7 classes. They're going to have 2 periods of language arts. We feel that it's really important to spend a little extra time on the reading and writing to set them up for success in middle school. So unique to 6th grade, they do have 2 periods of language arts. It is considered a core, which means it is the same teacher and the same group of students, even if those periods are not in a row. Students will also have social studies. For math, they'll either be in the 6th grade Common Core or the 6th grade Advanced Standing class. We'll talk a little more about math placement in a little bit. I know everybody's always very excited about that topic. I'm formerly a math teacher and I oversee the math department, so we'll talk about that. Science, PE, and then an elective. So for 6th grade, it's music, it's wheel, or it's an academic support. Again, in 7th and 8th grade, they only have 1 period of language arts, not the 2. So they will have an extra elective period, which the kids always love choosing another elective. We've got some options for our students with IEPs and 504s. So those with IEPs, we are in the process of having transition meetings. If we haven't done that already, I'm sure that's coming up soon in May. So there are smaller classes for language arts and for math. And then there is an academic support class to help with homework and executive functioning and organization. Our 504 students can be in the directed studies class if there's space, but we do have an equivalent called study skills that's open to all students, including our 504 students. Again, some need smaller classes, so we make sure that we meet their needs. Okay, math. I know we all love math. 6th grade placement. So you should have gotten an email, I would say in late January, early February, letting you know that the students were taking the February inspect. They take that test throughout the year. So they take it at the beginning of the year. We give it again in the middle in February, and that is the score that we use for math placement. And then they take it again at the end of the year. It is a good indicator typically of where the students are at and where they will be using that February score. They also took the MAC, which is a series of 5 MARS tasks, or like performance tasks, where they show their work and their thinking. And they should have done that in the 1st or 2nd week of March. And then the SBAC is probably what they're currently taking for math. We do not use the SBAC going forward because we have a better system in place once there actually are students with single subject math teachers, but we do use it in this case to help us with placement. The only thing that makes it a little more challenging with using the SBAC is typically the district doesn't get those scores until late June. And last year there was an issue with some of the data. We eventually got it. That made it much harder to get placements out. So depending on when we get all the data, I'll be working this summer, but it might be July, it might be closer to August when we start classes that students find out their math placement. I just want to let you know that we do not accept outside coursework. So I know a lot of students are in RSM, Singapore Math, Kumon. That's great, that's enriching, that's supportive, but we don't use that information to do our placement. When we send out these slides, you can take a look at my principal's copy from this year where I talked a little bit more about math and find out a little bit more. You'll see the pathway to the right there. So there's the 6CC and the 6AS, and you can see the typical pathways that students move. I will share that some students are not quite ready for 6AS when they start the year. 6th grade's a really big jump, and the expectations with note taking and tests is some really challenging for some, but we see that some are growing really fast in that first semester or throughout the first semester. We do make changes. So these are not completely stagnant pathways. A teacher, if they see a student is not properly placed, they will come have that conversation with me and we'll look at data, and we're not afraid to move students if it makes sense. So I do want to mention that. I know that's been kind of new since I joined Ralston a couple of years ago. We are going to add a new class next year in each grade level. It is not really on this pathway. It will be the equivalent to the 6CC, 7CC, or the 8CC, but it is going to be more intensive for students that need more work on skills that should have been mastered in elementary school, and they will be smaller. So we're looking at hopefully 10 to 15 students in a class versus closer to 28.
All right. We're assuming part of the reason why you're coming to Ralston is because of our very robust electives that we have. So for 6th grade, some of the electives that we offer are music. And within music, we have band. Band is mainly percussion and horns. We have orchestra, which is mainly strings. And then we have choir. With the band, if your student is choosing to move into band, they have to have prior experience. The same thing with orchestra as well. If your student would like to take choir, no experience is required there. They can move right into choir as their 6th grade elective. The majority of our students actually go into the wheel, and what the wheel is that it's 4 different courses. So they take a course for a quarter throughout the year, and they get sort of a taste of what's coming, of some things that maybe they may be interested in, just some really fun things, and they move around with the same group of kids from class to class, those 4 different classes in the year. And the offerings vary year to year. In the past, we've had things like art, and we've had animation and coding. We've had fun with French, things like that. So it really just depends on what we're going to be offering. And so, like I said, the majority of our students end up in the wheel. We do have some other classes that are for students who need some extra support at school. So our study skills is for students who need just a little more attention, maybe some executive functioning skills to help them stay organized throughout the day. That goes also with our directed studies, and that is a resource class. And what Mrs. Adler said earlier is that students with 504s, they can be in that class as well, as long as we have room. We also have math support. And our math support is exactly what it states. It's just extra support within those math classes. You're going to select your elective by Sunday, May 12th, which is this coming Sunday. All right, so this is a look at what the wheel may look like. And so your student can start anywhere on this wheel. The yellow wheel indicates 5th period classes, and the blue wheel indicates 6th period classes. So your student, if they're in the wheel, they would have the wheel either 5th or 6th period, just depending on their schedule. So your student can start anywhere on the wheel. They may start in coding story tech, and then the second quarter they would move to art, and then they would move to fun with French, and then they would end the year with journalism. So that's just the way that the wheel works. And again, any class can start at any point in the wheel. PE. 6th and 7th grade. 6th graders do have classes with 7th and 8th graders, although the 6th graders have their own teacher. We have 5 PE teachers at Ralston, full-time PE teachers. We do have some teachers who only teach 7th and 8th graders, and we have teachers who teach only 6th graders. So the kids they're in the same class as far as their grade. So all 6th graders would be together with one teacher. We have 4 to 6 week units, and we use outside. We have a huge field to use. We also have a nice gym, and they're also using our MUR building, which used to be the old gym at Ralston. They do suit up every single day, so they need to have a uniform. And we'll talk to you guys about the uniform in a minute. The locker rooms that we provide for our students are right next to the gym. They're a part of the gym. We have a girls' locker room, we have a boys' locker room, and we have a non-binary locker room. Teachers are going to check in with each student individually in the beginning of the year to figure out where they feel most comfortable to change. And like I said, for their kids' uniforms, you can order a uniform. You'll get that information during the summertime, and you can pre-order, or students can wear just a basic black t-shirt and black shorts or sweats, and they need to have the proper shoes for PE as well.
As you can see here is a very long list of all the amazing electives that we offer here at Ralston Middle School. We are very, very proud of our electives program and how robust it is. This really gives students an opportunity to experience some other skills, or to hone some other skills outside of the academic realm, which we know, obviously, our community definitely strives for high academics, but we want to make sure we also have well-rounded students. And I think our electives department does a really great job of doing that. I won't read the list to you, but you can take a look here and just see what a large variety of electives we have here at Ralston. These are for the 7th and 8th graders specifically. As Ms. Jorgensen mentioned earlier, 6th graders either go into the wheel, into music, or they might get a support class. But these are some of those classes that they can look forward to and perhaps experience a small portion of while they're on the wheel.
So we have a variety of academic and social emotional supports at Ralston. We have 3 full-time counselors, and our counselors partner with an administrator and loop with each class. So I have been at Ralston since last year. I started with the 6th graders. This year I moved with them to 7th grade, and next year I'll be moving to 8th grade. For your students, 6th grade will be with our principal, Sabrina Adler, and Counselor Dan Stark. 7th grade next year will be with Kelly Jorgensen and one of our newly hired counselors. And 8th grade will be with myself and Patrick Wilson. However, all students can see any principal or any counselor as needed. We all really work to know all of our students as well as we can and are really available to students. We collaborate daily to resolve any needs or situations that come up. Counselors do social emotional. I spend a lot of time talking to students about friendships and relationships. And we also support students who need academic help, who might be struggling in classes, need help learning, executive functioning skills. There's a whole variety of things we do. As Sabrina mentioned, with our new Bell schedule, we have SEL time on Wednesdays. We have a curriculum that we are using district-wide for 3rd through 8th grade. It's called Wayfinder. We're finding that teachers and students are really enjoying it. And we also very often on campus, we have therapy dogs and farm animals to kind of support our students' wellness and when they need some time to just enjoy petting an animal. Just last week, we had a goat and chickens and rabbits and guinea pigs on campus. And we also have a wellness room. That's our room 18 right now, where students can go and just kind of relax and chill out. We try to have that open at lunch every day as well. Just a comfortable place for students to go and relax.
At Ralston, we have an amazing student gov leadership team who hosts so many different activities throughout the year to really boost our school spirit. And that's something we take very seriously. That's something Mr. Badikin, our student gov teacher, also takes very seriously, is how are we connecting with our students? How are we bringing fun to middle school? I think all three of us administrators and our counselors, it's a big part of what we do here at Ralston is making the school experience fun. I think a lot of us can look back and think on our middle school years, and perhaps it was a very different time for us, and we want to create a new sort of experience for your students where they're coming to school, they're having fun, they're engaging with friends, and they're learning a lot. And I do believe we can accomplish all of those things. Just a few things to go over on this list. I highly recommend that you attend the beginning of the year. Your student attends the web orientation and our welcome barbecues. They're really great events. The web orientation is led by our student gov students, and they lead probably two student gov students to about 20 new incoming 6th graders. They lead these groups around campus, giving them a tour of the school, giving them kind of a lowdown on what to expect in the first couple of weeks of school, giving some tips and experiences from students who have gone through it. I think it's really, really important. And it allows your students to also connect with others before the school year even starts, whether it's friends from their elementary school or new friends that they're going to be meeting here at Ralston from other schools. We also do have that welcome barbecue. It's a lot of fun every year just to see the families come out and be with one another and just get ready for that school year. We do also every year, we have multiple 6th, 7th, and 8th grade socials throughout the year. Some pretty popular ones are the Halloween Carnival. We do St. Patrick's Day Carnival as well. All just throughout the year, just connecting with students and making fun experiences. We do have music showcases and concerts throughout the year. Spirit days, spirit weeks throughout the year, lots of dances. We just had our first all 3 grade level dance of the year recently, and it was a huge success, and tons of 6th graders came out to see that. It was a lot of fun. Every month, we also do have the Student of the Month, which is just faculty nominates Students of the Month from their classes and you typically attaches a reason why, and just really want to make sure that we're highlighting students who are doing just amazing in their classes. And it sometimes can go beyond just the academics as well. Maybe they're trying really hard and they've really improved. Maybe they've gone out of their way to help others in their class. There could be a lot of different reasons why you might be recognized as Student of the Month. And when we do the Student of the Month celebration before school, every student gets a donut or an alternate treat if donuts don't work for you, and then they get their picture taken as well. We also make sure we do a birthday celebration every month of the school year. We do a birthday cupcake for all students from that month. And then at the end of the year, we also celebrate those who, like me, have a summer birthday and make sure that they get recognized as well. And they also get a nice little birthday card signed from the administrators and a little treat. We do have plenty of after-school sports, which I'll cover in a little bit. Lots of clubs and groups, and as I said before, web and student government events. Clubs and groups, we are looking to definitely expand this list, although I think in the last few years, quite a few of these are new to Ralston, which I think is really great, especially coming back. Now we're a few years removed from the pandemic and online learning, but it was really important that when we came back from that, we started creating more and more clubs and ways for students to interact with one another and share their experiences, share their passions. So you can see here we have our BLSU, the Black and Latino Student Union. We do have a chess club that meets every week. We get about 75 students playing chess or so every week all at once at lunch. This year we had a dance club. There's engineering and exploration, gardening club, green team. We do the homework club twice before and after school each week. There are lunchtime intramurals, which Mr. Stark, one of our counselors, runs. We have math Olympiads, math counts, robotics club. We do have Saga. Every year we also have a school musical. This year it was Mary Poppins. It's always fun to check out that production and just really see some of our students shine in ways that totally blow us away. And we have no idea they had some of these skills, but it's a lot of fun. And then finally, we do have Upstanders Club, which is just a really great club for students who can model some really positive behavior, who can be there to lend a hand to other students and be positive role models on campus. As for after-school sports, we are part of the Art Davidson Sports League, which means we compete against San Mateo Foster City, Half Moon Bay, San Carlos, Ravenswood, Palo Alto, and the other BRSSD schools in our district. In the fall, we have girls volleyball and cross country. In the winter, we have basketball. In the spring, we have boys volleyball, tennis and track and field, and soccer.
All right, another great opportunity.
Sorry, Kelly.
That's okay. Another great opportunity that our sixth graders will experience is working directly with the Marine Science Institute. Through their science classes, our kids are going to be able to learn about our own watershed, which is part of our backyard. They get to have a couple of really cool experiences outside of school. We actually walk down to Water Dog Park and do some water quality testing. And then they get to go with their class to the Marine Science Institute, where they will canoe together. There's a group of 3 students in a boat. They learn how to row together and work as a team. And on top of that, they learn about the effect of human impact on their watershed as the water travels through the watershed from the top down to the bay and then eventually into the ocean. So they get to do water quality testing in the bay as well. So it's a lot of data that they're collecting. And to be quite honest with you, I didn't get to do that sort of thing until I was in college. So this is a really cool opportunity for the kids to get outside of the 4 walls of their classroom and to experience, their own watershed within their environment and see what their impact is there.
One thing I forgot to mention when I was discussing the web orientation at the beginning or before the beginning of the school year is we understand families have plans during the summer, of course. So if you're not able to attend, there are alternatives to get your schedule. You can go to the barbecue just before the school year starts. You can get your schedule then. You can also pick up your schedule on the first day of school. It's not going to be an issue. It definitely has happened before, but I do know that students do like to get their schedule ahead of time so they can preview it or tour around campus during the web orientation or the barbecue, and that's a great time to do it. Students will also be meeting with their assigned web group the first Friday of the school year at lunch. And if your student's not there on the web orientation day, we are able to provide that information with them so they know who they will be meeting with during that lunch. The web orientation, as I mentioned earlier, just mark your calendar here. It's going to be on Thursday, August 8th from 8:30 to 12:30. It's really is there to help transition your students to middle school, to meet other sixth graders, to get to know their 7th and 8th grade mentors, their web leaders, and to just have fun. They're going to make some connections. They're going to play some games. They're going to tour the campus, and they'll be able to ask lots of different questions, whatever they might have. Our web leaders are typically able to answer, and if they're not, we're around as well. Some upcoming dates here that might be important for you to jot down here, put in your calendar, but don't worry, we are recording this and this will be shared with you all later, so don't have to rush. But we do have April and May. We just obviously passed April, but this is the time for elective selection. We're visiting our feeder schools so they get to see what we're all about. Tonight, obviously, you're here. For next week, on Wednesday, we have a 6th grade panel where actually some of our current 6th graders will be joining us on a similar kind of webinar here. And those, you'll be able to hear from students directly about their experiences at Ralston. And sometimes they often share some really helpful tips for incoming 6th graders and alleviate some of those concerns and anxieties we know are natural with the transition from elementary to middle school. As I mentioned earlier, Thursday, August 8th is going to be our 6th grade web orientation. That's from 8:30 to 12:30. On Monday, August 12th, we have the 6th grade family barbecue. And during that time, not only can you pick up your schedule if you weren't able to do it at the web orientation, but you will also be able to pick up your child's PE clothes during that time. And that's from 5 to 7 p.m. If you happen to have an older 7th or 8th grader for next year, we will also be having the 7th and 8th grade family barbecue the following evening, Thursday, August 13th, and that'll be also from 5 to 7 p.m. And then the big day, Wednesday, August 14th, is the first day of school, and we're going to be so excited to see your 6th graders there.
All of these dates are in the welcome letter that I sent out last week. If for some reason you didn't see that, check your junk mail, see if it went to spam. Unfortunately, the list wasn't working yet in Parent Square, which probably yields less junk mail. So I had to send it out manually by putting everyone in the BCC field. So did want to get that out. It does have the information. It does have the link to select an elective by the 12th. I'll send out some reminders. And then you'll see once you start with us every Sunday, expect the Ralston Reporter newsletter from me. You'll get to see a lot of information about what's going on at school, data, pictures from classrooms during the week, because we know that your students come home and you say, well, what did you do today? And what do they say? Nothing. So I do try to get in there and get pictures so you can get a sneak peek of what's going on. And once a month, I have a principal's coffee that you're welcome to join in the morning. And a lot of the time we go into classrooms and tours so that you can actually get to see the teachers beyond back to school night and get to interact with the students. All of our information is here. Again, we will send out those slides and you'll be getting more information from us as we start heading to the summer and throughout the summertime. So just be on the lookout for communication from us. But if you need to reach out to us, please feel free. We all work together on the IEPs. However, I do oversee the special ed department at our school. Ms. Jorgensen is our SST master, our student study team, so she works on those. And Mr. Wilson is our 504 coordinator. Our counselors support all of these efforts, but each of us take a piece of that as administrators because we really do want our counselors to focus on the academics and social emotional support for your students. That brings us to the end here. I know that was a lot of information at once, but we will take some questions. Feel free to put them in the chat and we'll just start answering those live. I'm going to start with the one about math placements and the different tests. Again, we don't take any outside feedback, any outside courses, things like that. We don't take recommendations from the 5th grade teachers for that because our 5th grade teachers don't really have a great idea about what math looks like in the 6th grade. I'm actually excited to say that 2 of the 5th grade teachers from one of our schools came out a few weeks ago to see what the math and the language arts classes were like and kind of got an idea of what maybe they could change to get their students a little bit more prepared for math. So it really is different than the elementary school. And so they might be excelling in elementary school, but it is a big jump up for a lot of students with the middle school math. I will say, as far as the weighting, there is a 13-point scale. So it is 5 points on the inspect and then 4 and 4. So for the SBAC and for the Mars task. So we do look at those and we do make sure that the data looks as we would expect. If there's any kind of follow-up we will follow up with teachers, but generally it's been a pretty reliable system. And then we have a whole matrix and way we do this in middle school, which is in the slides that I'll share from the principal's coffee, and you'll get to know more about that when you get to Ralston. I'm waiting to see if my child is able to transfer to Ralston. So as I know right now, Ralston is full for next year. There is a substantial waiting list for, I think, the 3rd or 4th year in a row. We do know that sometimes people move. So I would keep checking back with the district office to see where you are. I can tell you that for our current 6th graders, there's still over 30 kids on the wait list for next year for 7th grade. So the spots don't open up too much, but again, never hurts to follow up. Kelly, you want to take a question?
Sure. There was a question here about, do parents attend the web orientation? No, we're letting the kids meet each other and get to know each other a little bit better. And, but you are more than welcome to join, you and your family, to join us at our back to school barbecue. And then there's another one here. I see lots of kids commuting on Samtrans buses. How does that work? Great question. So we have 3 buses, particular number buses that come to Ralston and then take kids home. We have the 60 bus, we have the 67 bus, and we have the 68 bus. What we do is we put the kids in the courtyard at the end of the school day. They know to go line up and get themselves a card, a numbered card. And then we radio back and forth and we load the kids on the buses. So essentially for 7th graders, or I'm sorry, for the 67, we have 1 bus per grade. So we'll put the 6th grade 67 kids on 1 bus. We'll put the 7th grade 67 kids on another bus. And then again for the 8th grade. And we do the same thing for the 68 bus as well. For the 60 bus students, we put their mixed grades. There's 2 buses that leave us for the 60 line. And we load those up and get them going in the morning. Our kids start showing up at about 7:45 from the buses. So it just depends on what time the buses leave around your area when the kids catch the bus. But we pretty much have it down to a science now. We've worked really hard on getting the kids organized and making sure we weren't running to buses, so on and so forth. And they totally got it. So kudos to them.
Okay, let's take a few more questions here. Let's see.
I could talk about the bullying policy. So in general, obviously every case is different, and we try to approach it with that lens instead of slapping down a broad, consequence for every single instance. We want to make sure that whatever harm has occurred is repaired, and we want to make sure that that is on the student who caused the harm. And sometimes that can be difficult, and sometimes those are kind of long conversations, but we do think we get better results that way. I know that in middle school, we all know that in middle school, students make mistakes. We want them to be able to learn from those mistakes so they don't repeat them again in the future. If we do see students making those repetitive mistakes or repetitive instances of whether it be bullying or whatever it may be, we do obviously have formal consequences we can hand down, but we do try to nip it in the bud, get it early, and have those conversations with parents, with students, and to make sure that we all know and we're all aware, we're all on the same page. And like I said, so that we can repair and restore the harm. That is really the focus here.
I see a question about supplies. Thanks to your generous donations through the ECC campaign, we do get supplies to the students. So no need to really go out and purchase too much. You'll get the link to purchase PE clothes, or you can buy the all black, that's fine. We will give students their supplies the first day of school, much like the elementary schools. They'll get a planner because they'll want to be writing down their homework in every class, and then they'll get their pencil pouch with supplies. And then as needed, we can restore some of those. Sometimes kids like their special supplies, so you're welcome to buy those. I will send out the list of what we will be providing this summer. I know everyone likes to start shopping once Target and some of the other stores have their sales, so I do try to get that out in July so that you can be ready to go if you want to buy extra stuff. But all of the composition notebooks, the spiral notebooks, things like that, we provide those for each classroom. And then students will get a Chromebook as well that first week, and they're expected to charge that at home at night, leave their charger at home, but bring that Chromebook charged to school every day. They will be using that in quite a number of their classes. Can we pick choir for 6th grade, but something else for 7th, 8th grade? Absolutely. And if you don't pick choir in 6th grade, but you want to do it in 7th and 8th grade, again, no experience necessary. There's multiple levels, so you can do that. As far as space in the elective classes, we put everybody's scheduling preferences into our student information system, Aries, and the computer spits out all sorts of fun, and it schedules them based on their different preferences. A lot of times math placement and electives are going to drive the rest of their schedule. Everybody has unique schedules, so it's not like in elementary school or at our K-8 schools where they move together all day. Some students might have math first period, some might have PE, some science. They can have any of their 7 classes first period, second period. So there's a lot of permutations of schedules that students will have, but my guess is they'll at least have some students they know in a lot of the different classes. As far as, how they get placed in the electives, the computer does weight that. We help with some of the electives for 7th and 8th grade. So for example, student government and yearbook for 7th and 8th grade is by application and interview. So there's a process for that. For music placement in 7th and 8th grade, there are auditions with the music teacher. So they tell us where to place the students, and then the rest we put in there. And what's tricky, and I put this out when we have elective requests for changes in the fall, you'll see it, even though it won't really apply to you in 6th grade, is with semester electives, we can't have every semester elective in one period. So there are only certain periods, and then if you've got 2 semester electives, you've got to have a second one that matches up that period. So sometimes you might get one of your choices, but some of your other choices aren't offered that same period. So you're going to have to get something that matches in that same period. Again, a little bit complex, but you'll see that, and I put it in the newsletter so you can see where everything is. In 6th grade, we should be able to accommodate everybody where they want. So that's why we're doing this a little bit early. It tells us how many sections of wheel, which is going to be the predominant class for electives for 6th graders, how many sections we need. So we try to make sure everybody gets what they need. Music, we can keep putting students in there. There's no cap there. And then we'll get students in the study skills and directed studies and support classes that we need.
All right, PTA and parental involvement. Yes, please. We love that. We love any sort of help at school. We do have a very active PTA, and I'm sure that they will be sending information out to new parents as well. We're always looking for parents to help us out. We have chaperones for dances. We're going to be asking some parents to join us on some of our trips to Water Dog Lake this year, so on and so forth. So Mrs. Adler sends out a Ralston Reporter every Sunday that gives you kind of a lineup of what's happening this week at Ralston. And if there's any signups for parent involvement, the majority of those sign-up sheets will be in the Ralston Reporter. I just wanted to answer this one too. After school events such as sports or clubs, is there a choice for Samtrans or other commute options? No, unfortunately, there's not, as far as those particular lines that run for our school. After school sports or clubs, the students need to figure out how to get back home on their own.
I could talk about the cell phone policy. We have our policy is pretty straightforward. So students should have their phones off and away in their backpack during the school day. They are allowed to take it out once the end of the day school bell rings. Obviously, they might want to connect with their parents, or, we all know at the end of a long day, we might want to unwind. We understand that. But the purpose of this policy is to allow students to connect with each other while they're at school. We see this, kind of nationwide. You might see stories in the news about cell phones and the issues they can cause at schools, whether it's cyberbullying, whether it's just a sense of disconnect. And so we do want to encourage students to socialize face-to-face and develop those skills here. There might be a time or two in your student's classroom where, with teacher permission, they might use their cell phone for an activity or a project. That's totally fine. That has to be done with teacher permission, though, however. We do encourage students to make sure that, with the smartwatches, with them becoming more and more common, we may have to do a formal policy there, but we do make sure to encourage them to put it into school mode, which if you're not familiar with, is a setting you can put on the Apple Watch. Also for cell phones, one thing we have seen this year, a rising issue, is a number of students going to the bathroom and calling their parents to come pick them up because they're not feeling well. And while we understand, obviously the intent isn't a bad thing there, but it's really a difficult situation when we don't know where the student might be. A parent comes in asking, hey, my student contacted me to come pick them up, and we're not aware of that. And if the student truly is sick or ill or not feeling well, they do need to be monitored, and the best place for that is in the nurse's office. There is a phone in the office that your student can use. There's a phone in the nurse's office that your student can use as well. We just want to make sure that that is very clear to parents and students.
Do we know which activities will be part of the wheel for next year? We don't know that yet. Again, a lot of them have been fairly consistent with coding and art and strategy and animation, but there are a lot of different factors. It's a very complex process that we work on over the summer for multiple weeks, perfecting the master schedule and what students are teaching. Again, sometimes you get last minute resignations over the summer, and that can change the whole schedule depending on who gets hired. So we don't know that answer, but we think there'll be lots of great options. And if your student doesn't like what they're in, it's really only a quarter, so they'll get through it and they'll be okay. It gets them trying something new that's a little bit different. As far as electives, yep, one elective in 6th grade, 2, or it could be 4 depending on semester electives, 2 periods of electives though in 7th and 8th grade. For
I really
ahead.
like this question. What is the biggest misunderstanding amongst new parents you see each year? I don't know if it's necessarily a misunderstanding, but Ralston's a big place. There's 1,150 kids or so on campus at all times, but that doesn't mean that we don't have time for you or your child. I think that's something that we take pride in, the 3 of us and our counselors as well, is that nothing is too small that we can help with. So just want to make sure that's cleared up with you.
I think I was looking at that question too. I thought that was a good question. I think for parents, your students in middle school are trying to find their identity and they're always pushing boundaries, and we're very used to that, but we still really need you to be parents. So that might mean you still need to sit with your students and do homework with them each night, or make sure that they're completing their assignments. It might mean going into Google Classroom to see that they are doing their work. And when it says it's turned in, that you click on the assignment to make sure they didn't just hit the turn it in button and the assignment is blank. The cell phone, you pay the bill, it's your cell phone. It is not your student's cell phone. And you really need to be on top of that, because we find that a lot of students are on those phones at 12 in the morning, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. I know I have a 6th grader currently at Ralston, and I have a 3rd grader at Central. I make sure that I have their devices. That includes Chromebooks, tablets, my daughter's phone. I make sure I have those at night, because while we want to trust our students, sometimes we got to take what they say with a grain of salt to make sure that we're really being a parent and on top of those pieces.
What exactly is the strategy course in the wheel? Our strategy elective is where students play board games and card games and a variety of different games that require strategy. The teachers introduce the games and teach some of the strategies that go along with the games, which is actually a really beautiful thing for executive functioning skills for our students. And they get the opportunity to play some old-fashioned games, not video games, not on computers. It's all working within groups. It is a class that utilizes a lot of social skills. So it's actually really great for our kids, and it gives them a time during the day where they get to just do something really fun with each other.
Chromebooks are mandatory. We do not allow students to bring their MacBooks. We don't want anything to happen. It's kind of the same thing with cell phones and other electronics or AirPods and other things. We really don't want them on campus because we don't want them to get damaged. Also with the Chromebooks, there's a little more control and the ability to push out apps from the district office. So everyone will be assigned a Chromebook. What is optional is whether they put the protective case on there or not. It does make it a lot heavier, and the kids do have a lot of things in their backpack. So that is an option. As far as what time students are allowed to come onto campus in the morning, we prefer generally 7:45 or later. The warning bell rings at 8:15 to start heading to class. However, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, homework club does start at 7:30 a.m. to give them enough time to get work done before the bell and get help. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7:30 a.m. if they're going to homework club. Again, otherwise 7:45-ish is when the Sam Trans buses start coming in and most of the traffic comes in. There are not lockers for holding your stuff regularly. There are PE lockers, and the locker room is locked and they leave their stuff in there. They will be provided a lock. And one of the things that's a big jump for some of these students is to learn how to use a combination lock. So the PE teachers will practice those with the students. They have them written down as well because they will have to support them sometimes with how to use a lock for the first quarter or so.
And I do want to mention, we do have, as Ms. Adler shared, we do have lockers for their students. However, for some students, their backpacks may not fit in the locker, which is a whole nother conversation to have, and how we can reduce the amount of things that they're bringing with them to school. However, if they are bringing valuables with them, if there's something in their backpack that is extra valuable, we want to make sure they are absolutely locking that in their locker and putting that behind their combination lock, just to make sure that there's no temptation for other students and things like that. We do want to make sure our valuables are stored properly during PE.
We do have field trips throughout the year. Our really big one for 6th grade is MSI, where we actually go down and use Water Dog Lake to test the water, and the students learn a ton of different scientific skills down there. And then they also get to go related to that on a canoe field trip in the slough or the bay. I'm sure I probably got that wrong. We have a lot of other things in the works, but that's our really big one. That's really exciting for the 6th graders that they get to do each year.
There's not a microwave to heat up their own lunch at school. Sorry. So to just kind of what Mrs. Adler said, there are PE lockers. We don't have like daily lockers for the kids to switch out their books and things like that. There's PE lockers only, and they can only use their PE lockers during their PE period.
Kelly, I see a mention a couple of times about outside sports. I know you're the master of that. Do you want to want to take that one?
Sure. If you have a student that you think may qualify for independent PE, which means that they are doing things way beyond what we do for PE, you can have that discussion with me. Feel free to email me, and I can send you information about that. But I just want you to know that it's really used for students who are what we consider elite athletes, and that their practices are actually crossing over within the school day.
Yeah, so typically gymnastics, ice skating where they have rink time in the morning or the afternoon. It's not, I play soccer, softball, and basketball on different teams. It's one sport that is extremely competitive and basically interferes with school because they're practicing so much and competing so much outside of school.
Our buddy system at Ralston is through our web system. So not only will the students, the sixth graders, meet their web leaders on the first day of school, they will have monthly meetings with their group and with their leaders, doing different activities and icebreakers and things like that throughout the year.
A little bit about clubs. If a student's interested in starting a club that is not being offered, then they can find an administrator, and we will do our best to find either a parent that can come help, be the adult presence during lunch or after school, or see if we can find a teacher. And we do typically have a little bit of money to give them if there's supplies that are needed. It takes a couple of weeks to get clubs going once we get back and we see what students are interested in. I put those in the Ralston Reporter newsletter, and that stays in there, and we add to that as we go. I know there was a question about robotics. We are bringing that back next year. I do have some parents that are really excited to help me drive that process, and I will be sending out some information actually about that soon to all of you and to our current students as well, to see which students are interested, which parents. That's going to be the VEX First Robotics Lego League. And I actually had some high school students reach out today to see if they could help with that as well. The robotics elective itself does a different kind of robotics. They're generally using hummingbirds, Lego Spike. They're starting with a basic microprocessor with microbits and it builds. So a little bit different in there. A couple questions about different platforms and communication from teachers. We do encourage staff to communicate with families through Parent Square, and students have the Student Square version, and have been encouraging at the start of unit to kind of share that information, but it's not something that I can force. We do use a variety of platforms. Google Classroom is used by all of the teachers generally, but in different ways. Some use it more as a repository to just put different things in there and resources. Some have the assignments in there and do their grading in there. Some do the grading outside. All of the grading eventually ends up in Aries, and we'll do some parent demos on how to use that when we get back in the fall, but a lot of different things. So it does sometimes get challenging that the student has different teachers and different styles that the students have to adapt to. I know that is one of the bigger challenges of middle school. Again, a question about math placement. If we didn't do super well, we're not going to retake math tests. We're going to see how students do. Like I said, if a teacher really feels students are misplaced, we're going to have that conversation. We will move students generally throughout the first semester and probably a bigger bunch at the semester as we start fresh with grades. So I wouldn't stress too much about that. We really do work hard to get the students where they need to be. As far as homework, I would expect about an hour or so of homework a night. It might vary depending on what combination of teachers you have. Our priority is really math and language arts. So really they should be reading 30 minutes every night. They may have some writing. I would expect they have math homework every night or 4 nights a week because they have the class 4 nights a week. And then science and social studies are kind of the ones that fill in finishing up projects or warm-ups they haven't finished during class. So not as many assignments, but again, it does vary slightly by teacher. So if they're spending 2+ hours of homework a night in 6th grade, then that would be a great time to reach out to administrators and put that on our radar, because again, it should be somewhere closer to an hour. We know that the students are all doing sports and outside math and other fun extracurricular activities, and we know that they have those things to do. Kelly, you want to take a couple more? Or Patrick?
Yeah, I was just answering this, but I can answer it live. Asking about their laptop and textbooks. So their students will be carrying their laptop to and from school and from class to class. Most of their textbooks are online versions as well. So they'll be able to access those online textbooks. So they don't need to be carrying a textbook back and forth. And just to kind of reiterate what Mr. Wilson said, we're really trying to focus on carrying less things because those Chromebooks, you know, they have a certain mass to them. And we're trying to relieve that on the kids, you know, carrying their backpacks around all day. So there will not be necessarily a textbook, but they will have their notebooks and things like that with them as well.
Question about if the student starts in a study skills elective, or I would say an academic support elective, can they switch to another academic or another elective later in the year? If there's space and they do not need that class anymore, yeah, we generally do try to move them. Choir, again, no experience needed. We can always add students in there. If the wheel is full, this year it was full because we got some students that transferred later in the year. And so they went into choir, but again, in 7th and 8th grade, you'll get to choose electives right from the start. But we will try to move students if we can at the semester if they no longer need their academic support class and they're doing well, which is a great thing.
We do have parent-teacher conferences in October. I do need to let you know that the majority of our parent-teacher conferences are really held for students who we notice are struggling in the first quarter of school. But you can always reach out and ask a teacher a question if you have any concerns.
Really great question here. What typically are the top 3 biggest challenges for incoming 6th graders adjusting to Ralston? I'm sure we all can think of lots of different challenges a student might encounter for the first time here. I think a big one is that adjustment from elementary to middle school, having, you know, 6 different teachers for 6th graders. That means 6 different personalities and styles to get to know and get used to, and that can take some adjusting. I think another struggle or another challenge 6th graders might have as they get to this age is just some struggles with peer relationships. You might see it for the first time for your student, where suddenly there might be some drama in the friend group, or there might be students who disagree in ways that they didn't before. And I do think that kind of leads students, you know, to think, especially as they're getting older, oh, I can handle this on my own. I can handle this myself, and really coming to terms with what sort of issues can I handle on my own, and what sorts of issues do I need support with? What sorts of issues should I go to my counselor for, or talk to the administrators about, or talk to mom and dad about, whatever it might be. And I do think that you know, comes with this time in their life, is just navigating that independence, as well as you know, we're still young, but we want that independence. So those are some challenges I can think of. I don't know if Ms. Kafka or the other administrators on here want to chime in on that as well.
Well, the biggest thing that I work on students with on a regular basis is friendships. I definitely have I think we have a large number of parents at Ralston who think that counseling is not for their students, that maybe it is just for, you know, kids who really need help or really need to talk to someone. But actually, I would say that's one of the biggest misconceptions, at least for counseling. Our counselors are here for all kids, and we actually work with, you know, the most successful students at school still need a lot of relationship help. One of the things that I like to tell families is that my main goal as a counselor for many of my students is to teach them how to gracefully enter into and exit from relationships, whether it is with friends or in middle school. Some of the hormones start, and there are, you know, other types of relationships going on. Our goal is to help kids in all areas, academic and social. So I say that's the biggest one that I work with kids on.
All right, how many students are in each class, and is it possible for different grade students to be in the same period? For our classes, we like to stay as low as we can per class, but it can average between about 22 students to 30 per class, depending on what the class is. The only time that we see different grade students in the same period, there could be a variety of things, but For sixth graders, really the only time that that would happen is probably in a PE class. But again, like I said before, sixth graders would have a specific teacher, but they may be in the same period as some seventh and eighth grade for PE. And then as the students get older in seventh and eighth grade for their electives or for band and music and things like that, there is a lot of crossing over of grades there as well.
There's a question about why the classes don't meet every day. Wednesday is a half day, so there's not as much time. And a lot of the teachers feel as though that 7 periods on the other regular days is just too fast. It means every class would be about 46 minutes. You think about how much time it takes the students to probably get settled, get their stuff out, get going on the warm up or the bell ringer as we call it, or do now, and then get into the content. It's pretty fast. The period goes by quickly. So the 54 minutes seems to be a good amount of time to really be able to do some kind of warm up, get into the main piece of the lesson and the activities, and then do some kind of closure. So it's been a schedule that has worked well for the past. Again, we did a little bit of tweaking this year to get the SEL time we needed and move a couple periods around, but that's where we're at this point. It's something that's of course always in discussion, but right now we're going to leave it as is. As far as programs on Wednesdays, sometimes after school sports meet on Wednesdays. Sometimes there are clubs. It just kind of depends. A number of the students go down to the hideout at Barrett. They do have that kind of space down there. Some of the students, especially as they get a little older, 7th and 8th graders will go down to Carmont Village and go have lunch and hang out. But it's something we're always looking for is more after school opportunities. The tricky part on Wednesdays is that's when staff have their meeting. So we take a lunch break and then we either have a grade level meeting, a department meeting, a whole staff meeting, or the teachers have some collaboration and planning time. So it's pretty busy for us on Wednesdays, district-wise, which is why we have the half day.
Yeah, sixth graders can volunteer at school for activities. Like we had mentioned, we have a lot of clubs at school that they can join if they like to. Things that just come off the top of my head. We have a very active green team right now, which has sixth graders involved as well. We have a gardening club. We have a, there's so many clubs. There's just so many things to do that these kids are interested in. Chess. So really, as things pop up, and like I said before, Mrs. Adler with her Ralston Reporter, that's really going to be your ticket to know what's going on for that week, and clubs are listed and when they're going to be meeting. Very informative.
Let's round it out. I know that we're after 7, so we'll just kind of wrap it up. And I think we'll answer more questions for the students when we go out. Math counts, that is after school. Usually meets on Fridays. You'll get more information about that closer to September when that starts. But we do have a team that competes and they've done really well in the county and moved on to states the last 2 years. We do not have a school newspaper officially. The journalism elective does have the Ralston Rampage, and I'm hoping next year to send it out to families as well. So far, the students have been a little bit self-conscious about putting it out there beyond the students and the teachers, but it is possible. If we've got students who do art or wanted to do comics, that might be a possibility to include that in there. Sometimes I include that kind of stuff in my Ralston Reporter. So there's a variety of ways to get that to happen. As far as the absence and sick policy, we need you to call those in. If a student's absent because they're sick for the day, they'll have about a day or so to make things up that they missed. They should be checking Google Classroom. We really need students to be at school though, especially with middle school. If you're out for a day or two, you fall behind pretty quickly because you've got all these different classes and all these teachers and expectations. We'll work with you. We know sometimes students are sick for longer than that. That's when the counselors generally will get involved, or the administrators, and kind of help the students figure out how to prioritize getting their current work done and doing all the makeup work. But again, super important, just like in elementary school, we need the students in school. It's really hard to miss instruction and know what's going on in class. All right, last question. Kelly, you want to take the last one about anything
Sure.
parents can do?
Anything you guys can do, get them rested, well rested this summer. Get them excited. We're excited. We take a lot of pride in the kids take a lot of pride in being Ralston Rams. And, you know, again, tell them that any adult is a trusted adult on campus and we're there to help. Really, for them to understand that we are truly there to support and help them. They can ask anybody any question and we will guide them to where they need to be. But other than that, have a fun summer and just get them ready for some really fun, chaotic times.
All right. Thank you for joining us this evening. We will send out the slides. I will send out the slides and we'll send out the recording. Again, we're around. If you have questions, you can email us, but we'll be going out to the schools. We've, I think, only been to one school so far. We've got another one coming this week. They're planned. So we'll get all the kids' questions answered as well. And then you'll see us at the barbecue at web orientation and get to know us as well. So thanks for joining us. Have a good rest of your evening and go Rams. We'll see you in the fall.
Thank you.
Thank you.